Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DiFurio with Keys to the Shop, and welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco, and they've been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. La Marzocco has been a staple in terms of dependability, quality, and innovation in the industry for that nearly 100 years. I mean, this is the reason why you're going to find La Marzocco at the helm of some of the world's best coffee bars. Machines like the KB90 with the straight-in locking portafilters for ergonomics and auto flush for cleanliness. You've got the Linea Classic, the Linea PB, one of my favorites to recommend, with all of the Linea Classic profile with the upgraded technology of today for ultimate control of extraction. You've got the Leva espresso machine for that kind of classic pulling a shot, literally pulling a shot feel, and much more, and various configurations to fit your needs. So if you're looking for an espresso machine for your new coffee shop, or you're looking to upgrade what you currently have and outfit the bar you're about to open with the best, then I think you need to be looking at La Marzocco. Go to lamarzoccoUSA.com. Better yet, email them info@lamarzoccoUSA.com and have a conversation with one of their salespeople who will get you matched up with the right machine for your cafe. Again, info@lamarzoccoUSA.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Rattleware. You can find them at rattleware.com. And the thing that Rattleware does best is keep things together behind the scenes. The support of smallwares in your cafe cannot be understated. Running in the background of most cafes is a host of little things: shot glasses, pitchers, whisks, knockboxes, and more. All of these things, at first, you don't really consider them unless they don't work. And that's something that drives Rattleware. They want to make smallwares that just work. So check them out at rattleware.com. We're always kind of looking for smallwares, I think, in the cafe. And if you want to upgrade from what you're currently using, go ahead and check them out again over at rattleware.com. Okay, everybody. Well, today we are going to be talking about how to design station responsibilities in the cafe. I wanted to talk about this mainly because it's one of the conversations inevitably that we end up having as we work with clients at Keys to the Shop Consulting to help them build their first coffee shop. And sometimes with people who are scaling and they want to fix what's wrong with the workflow of their current operation and maybe open their second store with a better design in mind. One of the first things, of course, is always that we look at the menu and say, well, what is this bar supposed to be making? And does the way that it's arranged right now make sense for that menu and for that purpose? You've got to get very practical with this. And you can add all of the paint and textures and images and that kind of stuff later. But what's most important is that this thing works. Now, when it comes to the static bar, it is a eventually built item. It is sitting there waiting to be used by people who in the work have to respond to other people who put in their order for somewhat of a unknown quantity of items. So we know there is a menu. We know how to make that menu, but whether or not a group of 3 people will each order 2 drinks of varying sizes or hot and cold with different syrups, or just one person who orders the same coffee every day, it is the job of a barista to be able to respond well and work to complete the order that comes in throughout the day at intervals, different rushes. And it is the job of those who take operations as a craft to craft the bar so that the people working it know what is priority and what is not priority, what is priority 1, what's priority 2, and so forth. And that's the major principle of deciding what the station responsibilities are. First, we start with the design of the space itself and say, here is the position of the point of sale. The cafe will have somebody who takes the order. That order taker, that barista at the register, is one of the most important responsibilities because they set a standard right away for hospitality, and they also tend to set the pace for the rest of the service. And in that little area of the bar, there are, and there should be, various items that they are required to use in their station responsibilities at the ready within a pivot. I could grab a cup of coffee, maybe a tea, pastries. I can find gift cards or loyalty cards. I can ring people out. I can put syrups and sauces in cups to prep for the barista before that cup goes down to have espresso put into it. And these are just some of the major things that end up being part of that station responsibility. So we are outlining this station. We're naming it. You can call it the POS, you can call it the register, host, whatever you want to call it, but it has to have its own set of primary responsibilities, just as much as espresso or the espresso bar or back bar or somebody who works in the kitchen and doing food. Each one of those stations has to have a description for what you're going to be spending most of your time doing. What is the primary responsibility of that particular station? And so in your training, you are creating kind of a curriculum to teach people what the standards are for how to host customers who come in and set them up for a great experience, how to display and stock or serve pastries. There has to be a standard that is described in standard operating procedures for that station responsibility. Now, what if there are no customers? What if there's no espresso to make? What if there are no food orders coming in? What you need to do then is come up with secondary responsibilities. You can call them tertiary responsibilities. These are things that once you have fulfilled the obligation of the primary role, you automatically, because you are a barista in this station, you are physically in the space, you have voluntarily or been assigned to take responsibility for that space. Now that triggers you to go start helping espresso with maybe finishing some drinks, or maybe the next thing you do once you don't have any primary responsibilities to do is you go do something on the back bar, or you go to the cafe and face some of the retail, or bus some tables and go do a bathroom check or something like that. But the point of today's episode is to say we have to plan out, and I think we can reasonably predict this, the life of the individual who is in a particular point in space in the cafe and how they can be the most helpful and productive in that space. And when we do that, we set them up for success by giving them clarity to know that in the moment they're doing what they're supposed to be doing so they can focus on just doing it very well instead of worrying that they're doing the wrong thing. So if you set it up as primary and secondary, so the first things you should do in this role that we have physically built this bar to resource you to do, again, you have built this bar for the menu, and each station has been thought through to say a person in the station with these primary responsibilities has then the ability to turn and or take a very small number of steps, maybe just a step, to get what they need to fulfill those primary roles. And then they have secondary roles that are designed for the management of the cafe, like the space of the cafe, as well as continuing to help each other out. Each station's set of responsibilities is somewhat of a study in and of itself. So it's not just that you want to become a great barista, you need to be really great in that station, in all the stations of the cafe, as though they were completely different job descriptions. Now, you're a barista when you're making espresso. You're a barista when you're at the POS. You're a barista when you're working the back bar and taking inventory and stocking things. But to become great, and if especially you want to one day open your own cafe, then you'll need to know that you are great in each position in the cafe, as you might be and probably are going to kind of rotate between those positions. So designing these responsibilities is the next step after you've designed the bar. And really, you're almost designing the bar with the stations in mind. And as your business grows, you probably are going to have to reassess those responsibilities, because maybe if it's the point of sales responsibility to help create the first half of the drink build, but then somehow as you grow, the other responsibilities they have become way more difficult and involved. Well, then you might need to, instead of expecting the same kind of spread of energy, break that out into a second barista position that takes on that task. But you need to be observing your cafe as it grows to then respond to your cafe's need with planned out station responsibilities that have that primary and secondary set of tasks. And this is all set up so that we can not only help customers across the bar get what they need and excel in quality and surpass their expectations, but we can also be peripherally aware of what's going on behind and on the side of us so we can care for each other in the process. That's how this is all going to work together. And it's all by design. So I hope that this has been helpful for you, just some principles to apply to your cafe. So I would challenge you, see what you can do to apply these to your cafe as soon as you can and make it an ongoing process. And I guarantee you, it's going to result in a lot more clarity, psychological safety. People will become better at their job and your customers are going to have a better time at your coffee shop. That's all a lot of good things. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. If you're interested in working one-on-one with me for coaching or consultation for your coffee shop, and this episode or others have really kind of sparked your interest, email me, chris@keystotheshop.com. That's CHRIS at keystotheshop.com. And we can have a conversation, figure out how Keys to the Shop Consulting can help you. So that's it. Have a great week. And I will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break from Keys to the Shop.